Welcome, hello and welcome. Thursday night, woo woo. Sorry, the coffee is kicking in, and here we are. Oh, we're at this one. See, this is why you have an awesome director, producer. So, see, the coffee's kicking in. Anyways, welcome to SessionWell. What is SessionWell? SessionWell is a place for pre-licensed and licensed clinicians, the average Joe. We don't care who you are. We are going to be sharing interventions that we use as therapists and interventions that we've had actually work out in our own lives. But tonight we have a really special guest. We have a special topic. So I am Adam Luke. Again, I'm an associate marriage and family therapist. I am almost to that magic 3,000 hour mark.
Oh, me too. Nice. Oh, so lucky.
It's so funny because like we're closing in together on something that we've been battling for, but this is...
Oh, I'm Judy Yen. I'm also an associate marriage family therapist. I was just looking at my hours as well, and I have 37 hours left. How many do you have?
37? I've got 326. 326 is what I'm at.
I've been in this for like 6 years. I teach at Hope, I teach at the MFT program at Hope International. I'm a full-time high school teacher. Adam also teaches at Hope. And so tonight we have a really special guest. Because most of our guests so far have been licensed or associates. And so our guest tonight is our very first trainee. And she's going to tell us a little bit about like where she's at with her journey. And so it's just funny to see like where she started, like for us was a few years ago to like kind of we're towards the end. So it's kind of a nice, I guess.
It's bookends, right?
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
So really cool.
So
tell us about yourself, Amanda.
So my name is Amanda Rippee. I have been, good Lord, in the MFT program for, I think it's about 2.5 years now. Next semester is my last semester. So I will graduate, which is so exciting.
And when do you graduate?
So when?
May.
Yeah.
May.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah. So May I graduate. I am at the Hope Counseling Center doing my clinical hours there. By the end of the semester, I'll have 135.
Yes.
Really? You hit it.
So we need 150, and
That's
I have 25 to go.
There you go.
And I have a whole another semester. It's beautiful.
Oh, you'll totally get it.
Yeah. I'm not worried. But I work at Hope as well. I'm one of the graduate assistants there. As far as the job goes, I do everything. Whatever they ask me to do, I go and do it.
Yes.
And I've helped create a research team there as well. So we are focused on trying to get published as students and help out with different research items that come along. Right now we're looking at implementing something at the undergraduate campus, specifically looking at boundaries and how those are implemented into those new students' lives from coming from, I've been at home for years and years and years to, oh my gosh, I'm now living on my own. How do I live life and what do boundaries look like?
Oh, that's so needed.
Yeah. So we're implementing that too. That'll start, we started collecting data this semester, but because it's new, it's, it takes a little time to get well aware. So next semester we'll collect some more data as well.
And it's amazing when you have something like a campus, so it's rich in environment of like who you're going to actually, what your population is going to be, the dynamic of that. So that's great.
Yeah, it's really interesting too, because when you go there and you see the students, the dynamics, it's all different. I mean, all different backgrounds, ages, you name it, and we see it. So it makes it very, very interesting for that too.
And especially when sometimes people might think like a private university, the sample pool would be skewed, and really, I think Hope has always had this awesome dynamic of having wide and diverse, different backgrounds, different countries, different communities.
Absolutely.
So that's got to just be something that adds to your research.
Oh yeah, it's incredible. It's so much fun, and it's been a lot of fun to be a part of. I mean, I'm a nerd in the fact that I love research, so it makes it a little interesting for me and exciting for me. It's a good time. I've totally and thoroughly enjoyed my time at Hope. It's been incredible.
Were you then undergrad also, or?
I didn't go to undergrad there. I actually, it's kind of funny. My life has put me on a trajectory to be in small private Christian schools, it seems like my entire life. So I went to a small private Christian school in Northern California in Redding.
Okay.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know where that is the like last main big city before you hit Oregon. Other than that, it's like teeny tiny little like 50 population here and 100 population here. So I went to a very small private Christian school there that is very, very similar to Hope. And then
what's the name of it?
Simpson University.
Simpson. Okay.
Yeah. So when I got done there, my husband and I got married and relocated back down here. And I was saying I'm going to go to a big, non-Christian school for my master's. Yeah, no, that didn't happen. And Hope took me.
What made you pick Hope?
There's so many things. It's actually really funny. I looked at so many different MFT programs.
I did too.
So many ones, but there was only one that I actually did a online virtual get to know it type of thing.
Okay.
And that was Hope. And I did it right when my husband and I moved into our first place. It was probably like 2 months after that. Mm-hmm. And did their like virtual online learn about the program. Yeah, it was
talking to an academic coach.
Yeah, so it's funny because it was Daniela still at that time.
Hi, Daniela.
Yeah,
yes.
Hi, Daniela. Yeah, so it was really interesting because it was like Daniela at that time, and now to see it's like been out and in.
Right.
But anyway, so it was Daniela, and it was you log into your computer and she goes over all of the details of what the program is about, how long it's going to take you, your different options, financial aid, all that kind of jazz. So, I took that, or I did that, and I didn't start right away. I, had just gotten done with school, and much like I've done in my master's program, I had a lot in undergrad. So in undergrad, I was doing full-time. I was working 2 jobs. I was planning my wedding, and I was also a research assistant for there as well. Oh my gosh.
So very similar to what you're kind of going through now.
Very
but
similar.
in a different way.
In a different way.
Yes.
I can manage it a lot better now because I have more tools.
Oh, good.
You
Yay,
can actually
MFT
say no
program.
every once in a while?
Yes, I did learn to say no. Exactly. Back then, that was not a skill I knew. So it was very similar to now. But when I got done, I was so burnt out that I wanted to so desperately, go towards the master's, but it wasn't the right time. And I'm so happy I took time off, because now I'm like, when I started the master's program at Hope, I was so like, yes, let's do this, So I took about 3 years off before I started my master's.
Nice. It's interesting because I also chose Hope's MFT program over like Chapman's and what's the other one? Alliance. Not that those aren't good programs, but because it was Daniela also. I remember going to the MFT orientation night or something, and I just remember she did this weird thing. Not weird thing, but it was like she decided that she was going to go around and like memorize every single person's name.
Oh my gosh, she's so good.
Yeah, and like there was food. There was amazing food that night. I was like, oh, okay, like no other one had food. So we had food, and then at the end of the night, she basically like went back and told us all our names. And it was like super personable and like very family oriented. And I think that's kind of like the motto of Hope. So that's just interesting that like my person was also Daniela.
Yeah, the EMDR piece of it too pulled me. No other school was offering that, and I was like, sign me up. I'll take that. That sounds amazing.
When I was going through it, I think it was also the small class size that really nailed it for me.
Yes.
I was like, oh, okay. And it was almost back when I started, we weren't even at the campus that we are now.
Yeah.
So if
really?
you don't know about Hope, right now the campus for the master's program is in one of the stadium towers next to Angel Stadium. Mm-hmm. Before that, it was in a business park off of Orangewood. And so it just felt really small, right?
Mm-hmm. It was super small.
For me, I love small towns. I love that's me in a nutshell. So when I was like, okay, this doesn't overwhelm me. I can do this.
Yeah.
And when they're like, yeah, we only have about 36 people or less.
Right.
And you're like, perfect, sign me up. Like the fact that it is so personable.
Yeah, definitely. It's amazing.
So why the heck would you even want to get into the MFT field?
Yeah, my journey towards psychology was maybe similar, maybe different. I actually started off my whole education wanting to do business. I thought I was going to do business marketing.
I can see you doing that.
Yeah, so I've always had a knack for, I know that the MFT field is my passion and I'll stay in there, but I will do a lot of other ventures in my life.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought I was going to do like business marketing, something like that. And then something really funny happened where I learned that you have to use math for business. And I was like, what are you doing with your life? You suck at math. Like, you can't do this, So I was at a community college. I was trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to do? And then took a Psych 101 class. And I was like, hi, this is what you're supposed to be doing. And then from there, the rest is kind of history.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure whether I was going to do research-based or clinical. And I love stats, but my brain doesn't naturally go to stats. It takes a lot for me to understand it.
It's so hard.
It's so hard.
So it's funny when you say that you don't love math, but then I'm sitting
But
over
I
here
know,
and you're
like,
you have a total passion for stats.
Yeah, and research.
I know.
You do know that's just a different
I know.
word for math, right?
I know.
It's like math that we're not used to.
Yeah,
I know.
exactly.
It's so different, though. I don't know. In my mind, it's different. But right now, I have just an amazing mentor in my life, Dr. Sean at the undergrad campus. If you see this, you're incredible. I love you. Thank you so much for all of your help. He has taken me under his wing and just loved on me. And I literally owe him my left leg. I can't thank him enough. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, so... I mean, I took that Psych 101 class, and it was like, okay, where are you going to go with this? And then I started doing my own research, because that's who I am. I will research until the cows come home, so I know every little aspect possible.
Yeah.
So I did all my own research of which directions I can go in, what a psych degree would get me, what kind of job I could get, so that if I decided just to get the bachelor's and didn't go on to a master's, I knew I was going to be okay. I could still have a job or whatnot. And at that point in time, you know, my husband and I were just dating at the time, so we didn't really know, like, it felt like it was going to go to marriage, is going to go to marriage. So, I decided I'll get a psych degree, got the psych degree, and then just fell in love with it more, just so much more, and then decided this is what I'm supposed to do. This is what God's intended for me.
It's pretty funny because you and I sort of align on that. From the time I was a child, I said, I'm going to go to a certain university and I'm going to get a marketing degree. Like, that's what I wanted.
Funny.
And it was amazing because I was sitting at that certain university and I had gotten accepted and we were sitting there and planning it all out.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget the business team. The business team looked at me and said, you know what? I think you actually are a psych major.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I said, well, why? And he's like, well, you're just, you have this empathic side of you to understand why you would match certain things with certain people.
Yeah.
You might actually want to be a psych major.
That's incredible.
So what was hysterical, and I still feel bad, but I don't, because a man changed my life, was that I totally didn't go to his university.
Oh.
Because what happened was I started researching myself and was like, you know what? I can go to Hope and that'll work out. That'll be pretty good. And that's where I went. So, sir, you changed my life. I'm so sorry I didn't go to your university.
So many thank yous to all.
But I think you nail it on the head of the fact that in the MFT field, yes, we are helping change lives. But we also have an amazing capability to use this degree in many different ways.
Totally.
So,
Totally.
like when you talk about marketing, I currently use my degree on the side to consult with companies to help them match with certain millennials, certain target audiences.
Wow.
And so it's not something that I would say is a full-time gig, but I definitely have done it with probably 5 different companies.
That's incredible.
So that's another aspect that you can bring in when you get a psych degree.
Yeah.
I think with an MFT and a psych degree, you can use it with, as long as there's people there, it's going to work. It's going to benefit because we're all relational. And
Absolutely.
it's like psych's going to help us with that.
That was the thing when I researched that hooked me even more was the fact that somebody who I was a mentor at the time of me was saying, I was talking to them about kind of the decision I was going in for my bachelor's, and they were like, well, I mean, you really can't go wrong. It's just teaching you to deal with people. And I was like, that's brilliant. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Like, we're dealing with people every day.
Every day, yeah.
Why not
what
get a
company
psych
isn't
degree?
going to like that?
Exactly. There's a reason why most HR sides of companies are getting packed with psych students. So, I mean, I know like in the hospitality world, we had a lot of BA psych students, bachelors, not just badasses. But I know that in Hope, we've had a lot of people who've graduated with their bachelors in psychology, and now they're working at Hilton and Marriott and all these
absolutely.
because they get it, right? If you can relationally understand how to work with people, you can generally get them to buy whatever you want. So it's not manipulation. It's helping leak them to the products they need. All right.
Nice.
So, okay, I want to get in this field. I feel drawn to it.
Yeah.
What's it been like now actually being in it?
Yeah, it's...
Because you're a trainee, right?
Yes, so I'm an MFT trainee, and so that just means that I'm not licensed yet. I'm still in my master's program and seeking my clinical hours.
There you go.
I say that just about every day on the phone.
When did you start, first of all? Sorry.
So I started clinical hours or the program?
Clinical hours. Like, when did you start seeing your first client?
So I started seeing my first client this summer.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I've been in it for a little while, but I started this summer was when I saw my first client, and my first client was a teenager with a lot of trauma. And I learned a lot real fast. It was nerve-wracking. It's this weird dichotomy that you experience where it's a lot of nerves. You're like, what's this going to be like? And then it's this other thing of like, I've been waiting and learning so long, all of these things, and I'm revving up to be able to use them with people. And you're kind of able to use them in your daily life, right?
Oh, absolutely.
But not to the same degree, I feel like, when you get in the room with a client. It's a different, it's
absolutely.
different, right?
We don't really do therapy with our family and our friends.
Yeah, exactly.
We do like our own version of our like therapist
Yeah.
skills.
I've mastered redirecting with my family. Reframe, reflect, deflect.
Yes.
Sorry, enough about me. Continue.
Definitely.
Ooh, what's in this coffee?
Yeah, so it's nerve-wracking, but it's also really exciting. And so yeah, I started with my first client in the summertime, and it's just been fun. For me personally, it's been fun.
Yeah.
You know, definitely nerves and definitely some anxiety for sure. You know, when you first start, you're trying to figure out, can I juggle all of this? Because it's not just, for most of us students in school, it's not just, oh, I only have my clinical hours.
No.
Like, there's no way. I know from my own thing, I've got a husband and a dog at home who do like to see me every once in a while, right? And then on top of that, I've got classes. On top of that, the homework for those classes. Then I've got, you know, the research club that I'm a part of. I've got work that I work 20 hours a week. And I've also got clients, right? And right now I have a caseload of 12 clients. Now, I've taken on more than some, but I know that I can do that and I'm okay.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, we all are trying to figure out in the beginning, holy bananas, how do I juggle all of that, right? And I know friends who have kids too. I can't even imagine adding that onto it.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, so the first part of it is really trying to figure out that anxiety of, can I do all of this? To all of you out there, you can do it. Yes. You can do it. We've
all done it, yes.
You can do it.
And some of us have
we're
done
not
it.
heavily medicated.
No, not at all. I mean, there's a lot of coffee. There's a lot of coffee.
That's true.
But other
and a
than
lot of our own
that,
personal therapy
A lot
as
of
well.
self-medication.
Yes.
But yeah, like you were saying, because a lot of it, I mean, I know for me personally, I was working full time. Like I was a full time teacher, grading still, and then I was seeing clients full time, taking school classes full time.
Yep.
Weren't you working full time too at the time?
Full time as a mechanic.
Married?
Yeah.
So I didn't get married till I finished the master's program.
Okay.
But I definitely had that anxiety of planning a wedding while the last bit was closing.
Yep.
Because literally, I graduated in June, we got married in October.
Okay.
So there was a lot of like, okay, get everything together.
Yeah.
A lot of life transition in that moment.
Well, even just proposing, that's
proposing, getting everything. Because I proposed that during that Christmas, so that was like
of your last semester.
Yeah, so we were all locked in, you know.
Yeah.
I do things on a semester-based system, so I was like, okay, all right, this will close. Okay, next module we'll get married.
Yes.
So,
Right.
That's sort of how that worked out for me.
Yeah.
But so when you say, because I can feel it when you say you guys can do it. You're gonna get this.
Yeah.
It's hard though, but you can do it.
What was sort of that mental block that unclicked for you when you were like, okay, I feel all of this anxiety, feel it all coming at me, but I accept it for myself that I can do this?
Yeah. So a lot of that is I'm a planner. I think you both know me very well to know that I am a planner. So for me, that works. So I have papers and binders. It's so funny. I have papers and binders that literally it says 9 o'clock this, 10 o'clock this. And I scheduled out days. And whatever blocks of times I had open, it would either go to my own self-care, my husband and us, my dog and us, or class or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So scheduling for me was a saint.
Okay.
And it helped me a lot. But I think the other pieces too is that, number one, we chose this.
There you
we
go.
chose this. And so it's not like we didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Right? It's going to come. And it came. And so now how do I work through that? And some of that for me was getting my own personal therapy before. And I felt the need and I felt like it was right to do my own personal therapy to work on my own things before I saw clients. And to work on any other baggage that I had before I saw them.
Okay.
And that helped me a lot. That helped me a lot to be able to say, okay, this is me and this is my clients, and that is a very big difference, and they don't go together. Now, we're going to get triggered. right? And there's
Of
going to be
course.
countertransference and transference, and so that's okay. But being able to recognize when that was happening, and whereas before, I mean, I have always recognized it. That was a big thing for me. The other thing was being in, conversation and in relationship with fellow, MFTs, those who have gone through it. Those are in it, those are licensed, all of the above. Having so many amazing people to be able to go, okay, this is what I'm feeling. Is this right? Am I overreacting? What did you do?
Right.
So this podcast is amazing because it allows us to do that. And I think we need that as MFTs.
Yeah.
It can feel isolating. You can feel on an island on your own. Me, I'm lucky right now because I'm in a situation where it's a buzz. Everybody around me is doing the same thing, right? But when you walk out of it, it's very, very different. So the communion is a big, big, big piece of it, I think.
Yeah.
And then when we asked you, could we ask our guests, most of our guests, what topic would you guys like to talk about?
Yeah.
Amanda was the one that wanted to bring up the whole expectation versus reality, and because she is, when you see her at Hope Counseling Center, she is very much buzzing around because she's
busy bee.
Yes, very much. She's always doing something. She's either in the counseling center, she's in a session, she's in the hallway, she's in a professor's office, she's in admin's office. She's kind of pretty much everywhere. So she kind of has eyes for all things that's happening in the center. Yeah. And so what are just some of the things, well, first of all, what made you choose this topic? And then what are some of the things that you've noticed being around it all?
Yeah, so it's actually, God does amazing things and brings things in your life when they're the right time. This whole topic of anxiety has come up for probably about 1.5 years now for me. And not so much my own anxiety, but my peers around me, their anxiety. And a lot of anxiety about questioning whether I can do this.
Yeah.
A lot of anxiety of, but how do you know if you use this? We were in a class recently. I was in assessments with Jackie Mack, I love you. So we were in a class and a student, we were talking about a topic and a student was like, I'm not seeing clients right now. How do you do that? How do you know? And Jackie and I made eye contact with each other and we were like, trust me, when you get in the room, there's no way you can't notice that, right? So that anxiety of, oh my gosh, will I notice it? Can I notice it? And then also to be in classes with students and in the hallways and just naturally and hear them, I have to be perfect. If I'm not perfect, and on top of that, what if my client doesn't like me? What if I make my client mad?
Man, I love that one right there. I'm sorry, I have to jump in. What if my client doesn't like me?
Yeah.
The best thing about it is they never come back. That is and that's what you would like.
Well, yeah, but we can't make our self-worth on our client because it's not, again, the biggest thing that helped me with being able to get in the room with a client is constantly going, this isn't about you.
Exactly.
It's not you. It's
Right.
them. It is them. Now, yes, there's that piece of we need to connect.
Yeah.
And they want to feel that connection. And so, yes, I understand that. But not every person is in the right connection for that person, right? So, okay, you didn't like my therapy. All right, but the next person may love me and want to stay with me forever and ever, right? It may be so bad I go, okay, maybe it's time to terminate, right?
Maybe we gotta cut you off.
Yeah, but to make our self-worth about whether our clients love us or hate us or whatever is detrimental, not just to us, but to them and to the therapeutic relationship.
And it changes what chair you're sitting in, right?
Absolutely.
Because we're not the ones that are supposed to, you nailed it. We're not the ones that are supposed to be trying to win a popularity contest.
Yeah.
Right.
The way that I've always looked at therapy is like ice cream, right? Everyone's got their own flavor.
Totally.
And some people...
Or dating.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Some people hate pistachio.
Oh, I love
Some
pistachio.
people love Rocky Road.
I don't
like
Rocky Road.
Again, I can't fit everyone.
Right.
And I try to, especially in those first few sessions, bring in the fact that, if you don't like me, you're not going to hurt my feelings.
Right.
Yeah.
I know a lot of great people in this field
Yes.
who would be perfect for you
Absolutely.
if it doesn't work with us. But I remember sitting there in my first few sessions and being like, I need the hours, right? It's funny when you say, I'm at 135, I need 150. It's like, okay, so you'll sit with a person, you're like, this isn't going to work, but I think I can squeeze 6 hours out of you. And then we have to look at that, hold it, what did I just say?
Yep.
Is this for me or
Totally.
is it for them?
Yeah.
Totally. Absolutely.
We'd rather have, I think in the beginning too, I think I was offended or oh gosh, not offended, more I failed. Like,
yes.
What did I not do, or what did I do in this first session that didn't allow them to connect with me? Like I suck. Like, it was one of those like negative cognition things. But I think now, like, being a little bit more seasoned, it's more like, no, like, if we don't connect, I would much rather have you connect with somebody else and get the care that is best for you, because they're going to be sharing so many personal, like, painful, whatever things that they are sharing, and I do not want them to just sit with me because they don't want to hurt my feelings. Because again, it is their time, it is their money, it is their heart that they're basically investing. Yeah. And so I'd rather just be like, oh, okay, like, this didn't work, but let me give you a referral for everything else.
Yeah, and at that point too, if you're just sitting with them because, you know, they don't want to hurt your feelings, then it's your therapy, not their therapy.
Right.
And then it becomes way too messy.
And sometimes you also have to look at that as one of those things where it's, oh goodness, word just fell out of my head, but basically codependency.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to really be mindful on that. Is this a bigger thing that this person's struggling with? They don't want to break my heart, so they're going to stick with me until the end.
Absolutely.
But they're actually not going to grow. They just feel bad that they need someone different.
Right. Yeah. And sometimes when they don't come back, like you said, it could just be that they're actually not ready for therapy with anybody.
Absolutely.
And so it really doesn't even have anything to do with you sometimes.
Oh my goodness gracious, yes.
I had to learn to slow down in therapy. Because for me, I've always loved systems, theory, and really pulling it apart. Yeah. And so people would come in and they'd be like, yeah, I want to work on this, right? And I'd be like, okay, perfect. This. Like, I could sit there and just blueprint them in like 45 minutes. And whether that was good clinically or not is not the point. The fact is I would blow them out of session, overwhelm them.
Yeah.
And I really had to learn, like, oh, wow, you got to slow it down. But I was so much in that mode of, like, I have to perform the best therapy ever. Because if I don't, they're going to go to someone else.
Yeah.
And it's really that whole, again, sort of looking back to the fact that as a therapist, you don't need to over-provide.
No.
Right.
And especially when we're an MFT trainee, sometimes we feel like that's almost like a bullseye on our back. Because it's not even as good as saying an intern, right? Associate. Oh, I'm so sorry. I broke everyone's heart.
Whichever one you would choose.
And because there's like this hierarchy, right? Oh, I gotta get to license, but I'm not even an associate. I'm a trainee, and so you feel like, oh no, if I'm not awesome, this isn't gonna work.
Definitely.
And you have to sit there and actually be like, no, you know what? I am competent in my skills. Have I grown through the process? I know I have. But I can tell you I was still probably a pretty good trainee when I was sitting there.
Well, the thing, too, that I think we forget as a trainee is that there's this sense of I can't make mistakes either.
Oh,
yes.
And good Lord, I would like to stay a trainee for a while, please, because I can make all the mistakes I want. Now, I'm not going to sit there and make, really bad mistakes. But there have been times in sessions where I'm like, wow, what was that, But I'm a trainee. I'm learning. Yeah. That's what this space is for. And that's another thing I hear a lot with students is basically this sense of I need to be perfect because I'm a trainee, because I have that lower title. Right. And so I must be perfect so that they believe in me because I'm only a trainee. Yeah, and that's not accurate either.
The problem with being perfect is it doesn't allow any room for growth.
It doesn't.
So if I'm perfect, that means I'm incapable of being any better.
Absolutely.
And so especially as a trainee, or I was really, what you said sort of resounded with me is the fact that I am growing even as an associate. Oh, yeah. Even as I'm 300 hours away, every day I have the possibility of growing. If I invite myself to do that. Yeah. But when we sit there and say that, no, I've read this book, or I've hit this, or, the state of California thinks that I'm okay to be sitting around playing with people's minds, that I'm all of a sudden in it. It's not how that works. Yeah. And really, I feel like some of the best therapy I've ever done with my clients is when I grow with them in session.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. And you learn from them, too.
Definitely.
Exactly. I'm telling you, my clients, I wake up, and I'm not joking, I try to be as genuine as possible with this podcast, but I wake up every morning with gratitude for my clients.
Definitely.
Because they are inspirational to me.
Absolutely.
Because we have people that are dealing with all sorts of stuff in their life.
Yeah.
And they're willing to come and share.
Yep. Yes.
And so that breaks the stigma for me, right? Because everyone else goes, oh, well, wow, you need to go talk to someone. I guarantee you in life, no matter who you are, you have talked to someone. Yeah. Now, we get to play this game where we say, oh, they were a mentor, they were a close friend, they were this, that, and the other. But you were just doing black market therapy. Let's just be honest here. Okay? And I have nothing against it. It's awesome. If you have amazing support systems, utilize them to the best of your ability.
Right.
But then you can't kick people when they don't have that same resource.
Definitely.
Especially in a society that we move farther and farther away from close community or from relationships.
Right.
Yeah.
How do we fault someone who, again, moved from NorCal to SoCal? Like, even though you're coming back to a community you knew, there's also a lot of people that, guess what? It's scary to move 20 miles.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you have never experienced it, trust me, move 6 streets down from where you were and then try to hang out with the people you used to see every day. It doesn't happen.
Oh, in undergrad, I went from living down here and then moved 10 hours away from home. Now that I wanted a big change like that, but when I came back, the friends I had in high school,
different.
Poof, like sayonara, it didn't happen anymore, right? And so I had to build new relationships. It's a big transition. It's a change, and it is challenging. It is definitely challenging.
And it's cool that I think that as an MFT trainee, I think that's where first in school, you build your relationships.
Yeah.
But there is something really special about being an MFT trainee with other MFT trainees. Not just with another friend, but it's like you are going through this like journey together, and you guys experience similar anxieties, insecurities, and doubts. And it's kind of one of those things where I think the MFT trainees are so caught up on being perfect and not making mistakes. Yep. But like you said, like you guys you're allowed to, like we're all allowed to make mistakes, but like you guys have this season where you have your supervisors, you have other MFT trainees, other students, and you have your professors, and it's like make all the mistakes that you need and learn from them, because when you become an associate, it does change. It totally changes.
Oh, sure it does.
I would say it's not as supported unless you go and you actually seek it out. Whereas I feel like when you're in the program, it's like kind of built in for you.
Yes.
So, I don't know.
Well, you get to experience it through, you have practicum with your cohort.
Yeah.
A couple times a week.
Oh, absolutely. There's so many times, I'm sure the other trainees in the Hope Counseling Center get so annoyed with me now, because they'll come, we get done with sessions and there'll be whoever in the counseling center, we come and process with each other. Like, holy moly, that session was tough, or that was great. But there's so many times where my colleagues will come in and they'll be like, and downing themselves about their abilities. And I'm the one who's like the repeater of like, remember perfection. It's okay not to be perfect. You're a trainee and it's okay, right? But it is amazing. It's amazing because there's other people to lean on. There's other people to go to who are in the same boat as you, who are, just as greener as you are, and trying to navigate this crazy thing called therapy that changes every day. And the minute you think you may know your client, they throw you a curveball,
Right. Because they get thrown curveballs in their life.
Yeah, all the time.
And again, you sort of want to have, I always say you want to invite your client to actually continually surprise you.
Yeah.
Because the day that you sit there and you think you have them pinned, I think we stop allowing that magic of just spontaneity.
Yeah.
And so allowing them to just, they come in and they drop something and you're like, and I'm straight off the bat with my clients where I'll be like, didn't see that coming.
Yes.
And they're like, right? and like, please continue.
Tell us more.
Yes. Definitely. Yeah.
So aside from the idea of perfection and not making mistakes, what other, I guess, insecurities or doubts or anxiety-filled things have you noticed from trainees?
Yeah, I think the other things that I notice a lot is the fear and anxiety of going to a practicum site and not knowing what that practicum site is going to bring you. So yes, we have a binder and it says, or we have a manual that says this one's approved and gives you a little synopsis, right? But you don't really know the inner workings. Yeah. You don't know what your supervisor is going to be like. You don't know what the other trainees are going to be like. And they come from all other schools, right? And so there's a lot of anxiety about, oh my gosh, am I going to get my hours there? You will get your hours, I promise. If you're at Hope International, you'll get your hours. Yes. I can attest to that. I check those binders.
There you go.
And I teach the class I teach PD2, so I have
What's
all
PD2?
professional development too.
Okay.
So these are the cohort of students now, and like yay to them because they just finished their classes this week, and so next semester they literally start practicum and they see their very first client.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this semester has been really interesting because I've only used to teach PD1, which is professional development 1, which was like the brand new newbies to the program.
Yeah.
But PD2 is like the group of students that are basically starting to get really, really trained to go into the field of actually seeing a real client.
Yeah.
And I went through them the whole way from like looking at the binder of all the different sites and then having them do interviews and write their resume and did I get this site? Did I not get this site?
Yes.
Oh, I had an interview for this one, or I didn't even get an interview like call back. And it's awesome because they all have a placement, which is great.
Yes.
But I could sense some of the anxiety of them of like, what's it gonna be like? Like what's liability insurance? What's track your hours? Like what do I do when I start seeing a client? Like, oh, I don't know what to do. And so you can feel a lot of that when you first enter seeing your first client.
And it's not just on the a huge piece of it is the outside of what's my site going to be like. But then the other piece is the inside of it, where once you start seeing clients, that's when you got to do the advanced to practicum. So that's the process of our students interviewing with a professor, and that professor basically vets them to say whether yay or nay they are ready for it, right? So there's that you got to do. Then it's all the pay, track your hours, liability insurance. So there's all that money that's in it. And then it's also about classes on top of that. So it's like you got the outside piece, then you got the in-school piece, and there's so much anxiety around all of that process about going out and starting that hours. A lot of it is, unknown. And we don't like the unknown. No.
How about the anxiety of actually, am I going to find a practicum site?
Oh, gosh.
That was there too.
Yep.
But they all found one. You guys all did great.
Yeah, and I mean, I have a different perspective because I'm in the background, right? And so I know, and I can totally fess for the fact that I wasn't as anxious as most because I see the background.
Okay.
And I know the process that goes into it. I am one of the ones that looks at those binders and puts the new sites in, right? So I know that we're all going to get a site and that we're all going to be okay. Yeah. And here's the thing. I had a situation where my site kind of went awry, the first one I chose. Okay. And I had to go and sit with Susan and Jason and say, hey, guys, here's my situation. What can I do? And they worked with me. And so when I say to students, I am telling you, if you go to Susan and Jason, now it's got to be a good reason. It can't just be, I don't really like this site, right? Yeah. I mean, it's got to be a good reason. But if you go and you talk to them and you work with them and are actively doing it, they're there for you and they're going to be supporting you on your side saying, okay, let's make this happen, so there's a lot of anxiety about whether I'm going to get the site or not, but I promise you will.
And hope is our program is never about, we don't want to fail you. Like, we're there to support you, and we want to see you succeed.
Oh,
so it's
so
like,
much.
as long as students advocate for themselves, because we don't know in the background side. It's like, there's so many of you, but it's like, once they advocate for themselves, it's like, how do we support you in that? Like, whether it's figuring out a different class schedule, or finding a practicum site, or moving around different things, or just extending your program a little bit longer. Like, it's just, that program is there, and I'm assuming the other schools are the same. We just really like ours. Yeah. But we try our best to try and help ease the anxiety for a lot of the new trainees.
And so something I'm hearing while we're talking here is, we talk about how much we love Hope, but really, whatever school you're at, utilize people that are there.
Oh,
so like when she talks about Susan, she's talking about Dr. Susan Hastings, right?
Yeah, apologies.
Yeah, she runs the program,
yes.
Right? Then you have Jason Odegaard, who is the director of training, right?
Clinical training director, I think is his official title.
So, he's on our other podcast too.
So basically what you're doing here is you've got to utilize the people that are there. You pay for them.
Yes.
So go ahead and utilize them.
Yeah.
Because I had a situation that it still gives me trauma. So when you sit there, when you said, EMDR, here we go. Let me just sit here and butterfly tap. So basically what happened was I was in PD2, and so professional development 2, you get your binder. Okay, pick, and I remember pick 4, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Pick 4 and apply. So I pick my 4, I send it out, I don't hear anything back, right? So I go to my teacher, I didn't hear anything back. Oh, okay, well, why don't you pick another 4? Pick another 4, send it out, don't hear anything back. I applied to 17 sites.
Stop.
Yeah.
I applied to 17 sites. Now, at the time, the binder wasn't as big as it was.
Yeah, we have like
So-
90 sites now.
Yeah, when we did it, there were like, I remember it was...
I think it's 50.
It was 50, but only 25 of them were like geographically
Okay.
Good for you.
able to do
Right.
them. And I remember just clicking up, right? Everyone else, because there's the other side of it where you're hearing from everyone else that got
Everybody.
hired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially in this field, it's really close knit. So you would go to trainee sites to do your interview,
Yes.
and you'd be like, "Oh, there's 5 people from Hope. Hey, yeah, what's going on?" And it's like, "Got it,
Yes.
got it." And then they're like, "We'll call you," and it's like, "You won't call me." Anyways, again, previous traumas.
Yeah.
But the whole thing of really, again, there's a blessing behind no's.
Yeah.
And people don't like to talk about that. Because I'm glad that I didn't get into a site that wasn't going to work, right?
Definitely.
And so a no doesn't have to be something negative. And so it's like, keep fighting, keep applying. Someone's going to take it. And I just remember, again, at that time we had Lisa Wilson. And Lisa Wilson was just like on it of just keep putting it in, keep putting it in. We've got it. And I was working with Erin Grassmeyer at the same time. She was the one that was the instructor for these professional development classes. So, again, do not get discouraged on whatever the number is.
Oh,
If you don't get it found in 4, that's great. You know, 8, I don't care. And even if you go 18 or 20, I don't care if your number is larger than mine. It's going to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
You're going to find a site.
And
well.
it really falls back to the whole thing of, if we're going to tell you that you can't rush therapy, then why are you trying to rush life?
Yeah, and I mean, not to get all spiritual, but also God's plan. Why are you going to rush what God has planned for you? So clearly those things weren't the appropriate ones.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. And just like we've said, if it's not happening, that's when you go and you advocate for yourself. And then
Exactly.
you get those people on your team and on your side who can implement change and do things to help you.
Yeah.
You
Because
know?
the thing is, they can't help you if they don't know.
Exactly.
So sometimes you have to put yourself on the radar, and it sucks to do because a lot of people,
Totally.
you know, I don't want to ask for help, but, you know, listen right there, the guy who ended up speaking at graduation sent out 17 before I got into a place.
Yeah.
So you don't ever know what that is.
And you have 300 hours left.
Yeah.
You're doing your own podcast.
Yes.
I'm doing my own part. I mean, and
Your
again,
full-time job.
it's kind of funny because I can look on this side and go, wow, I can actually appreciate every moment of my struggle.
Yeah.
From traineeship to internship and associateship, because sitting here and talking to you, I actually have the other side, and Judy and I have sort of talked about it, that our window of associateship is closing, right?
Yeah, which I'm kind of sad about in a weird way.
Really?
And it is weird, right? You don't know if it's Stockholm syndrome, but it is. It is the side of like,
Seriously.
okay, it's closing, because guess what? I had a lot of friends that they got licensed like within a year and a half.
Oh.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah.
Two years is probably
Was it 2 years?
2 years is the
Even
fastest.
Literally,
Still.
people came screaming out, because you could
Oh,
come
yeah.
screaming out of the program with like 1,350 hours completed.
And you're trained.
And then, you know, that's a short run to
right.
3,000. And so I had people that, boom, they were getting licensed all over. And here I was still working as a full-time mechanic. I didn't find that split yet where I could go full-time. And I was wrestling with myself. Oh man, they're getting ahead of me. They're getting ahead of me. And it's not really a race with other people. That's the one thing. If it's anything, it's a stroll with yourself.
Totally.
Right.
And if you're willing to sit with yourself, because I can sit here and I can say, yeah, I've been doing therapy for 4.5 years. I wouldn't change a darn thing. And I don't at all say that just so the podcast sounds better.
Right.
It's the fact that, no, I really do. I appreciate it all, because I've had the blessing of watching how not to run your private practice, how
Yeah.
not to run,
Yep.
how not to run a nonprofit. I've watched how not to treat people
Yeah.
as a supervisor. I've also been shown incredible supervisors
Yes.
who, it's like, wow, if I could recreate that in my own life, I would want to be like him or her.
Definitely.
And so utilize this, because you will get there. The
Right.
end is gonna come.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And if you just try to rush through this, put your head down, keep moving, you're actually going to get to be a licensed therapist. It's terrible. And I will promise you that.
Yeah.
And your clients will feel it.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Because if you are sitting with someone and you can tell that they're literally just trying to burn through hours to get this done,
Right.
you cannot be in that room in a way that's empathic and
and
present.
I think that's something that a lot of therapists, and even especially our trainees right now, because they're so invested and involved in the classroom piece, that sometimes they forget that if you just sit there and, wow, that is crap, that sounds horrible, right? Yeah. That goes a mile for people. And I do that, all the time now with my clients. Sometimes I'm like, all right, throw the book out of the window.
All your interventions.
Yeah, it's not necessary right now. What they need you to be is a person. A person who's leveling with them and saying, you know what, I hear you, and what you're going through right now, it is crap. And that sucks. And I'm going to be here, and I'm going to stick it out with you. And throwing those textbooks away doesn't mean that you're not a therapist.
Right.
But I think it all intertwines as far as, we got to take those blinders off. We got to take those blinders off and just sit in the moment and be okay with the moment and live in that moment.
Brochure therapy doesn't work.
Yes.
Right? And so if you're just throwing back parroted verses, it doesn't work. And it's funny because when you try to get people to throw the textbook away, it's like, no, you can utilize the reframing, the sitting, all of that in that bit, but you don't have to sit there as such a sterile person.
Right.
Yes.
I remember having a supervisor that was very psychodynamic and was like, never show emotion. I don't like how you use humor. It's like this person just ripped me apart.
What?
And I appreciated the supervisor from the fact that I realized what I couldn't be. And I ended up realizing, you know what, it's just going to be best if I don't work at this site then. And it sucked, but at the same time, it was like, you know what, some of my best work has been when I have been empathic, when I have shed a tear, when my voice is broke, right? Because sometimes they bring immense pain that, I'm sorry, you're going to feel it. And if you sit there as a sterile person and you're just like, okay, tell me more, or, oh, okay. So, and you go to something else, that invalidates what this person might have just drug out of themselves.
Right.
I'm going to bear to you what I haven't bared to other people because I don't think they would have responded in the way they need.
Yeah.
And so, as much as that book is there to help you learn as a clinician, remember that your heart is one of your greatest assets.
Absolutely. I've had clients that I've sat with and gone through serious trauma. That's kind of the area that I think I want to go in, is working with trauma. And something that I brought up when I was in classes is I cry at puppy commercials. How, am I okay if I get in a room with a client and they start telling me about their trauma? I'm gonna cry. I just know myself. And there's been many times that I've had clients who've sat there and they start to cry and they're telling me about their trauma, and I start to well up, and I'm honest with them. Because of what you're telling me, the pain that I feel from you, I feel it. I understand, can feel that. I may not fully understand, but I feel it. Yeah. And that has gone way further than anything else that I could ever say to them, any intervention I could throw at them, being there in that moment and being okay with the emotions, it goes so far. It goes so far.
And it seems like as trainees, you guys, I think what trainees need to understand too is that you're learning.
Yeah.
And every day, every hour that you sit with a client, you're just getting better and better and better.
Absolutely.
And so if you could talk to all the trainees out there who maybe are struggling with whatever they have, insecurities or doubts, what are some pieces of advice that you'd want to give them?
Oh, I love this question.
Share your wisdom with them.
I think the first thing that I would say is don't isolate yourself. Be involved. That's really, really important. Your own personal therapy is extremely important.
Love that.
Yep.
Extremely important. You will get a client in your room with you who will trigger you, and you may even get a client in your room with you who tells you your own story.
Yeah.
And that's hard. It's not easy. I mean, there's been many times I've texted my therapist and gone, really need a session this week.
Yeah.
There was a lot that happened, So definitely personal therapy. I would say, I know we get preached it in school, self-care.
Yes.
Self-care. It's so important. Whether that's you sitting and reading a book, whether that's you going and screaming at the top of your lungs in the street, I don't care what it is. Your self-care is your self-care, and it needs to happen.
Yeah.
This question, I could go on for days. I think the last kind of big piece that I would say too is that school is important. It very, very much is. but it can't always be the precedence to your own health.
Yes.
And so allowing yourself to say, if I don't get a 4.0, I'm still going to be okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because amazing therapists got 3.0s.
Well,
or 2.7s.
Yeah, and I've worked in academics for almost like 7+ years or whatever. I'm going to tell you all that when an employer looks at your resume, they don't look at your transcripts.
Yeah.
Ever. So they're never going to know that you had a C average. Ever.
Yeah.
I had a C average, and I got into a master's program, and I'm going to graduate. Like,
yeah, I don't think any of us MFTs in our current associateship, I don't think we were judged or hired at all based off of our GPA.
Exactly.
I think they just wanted to know, oh, you got your degree, good job.
Yeah.
And you have experience, awesome, great, you're hired. Oh, and we like you. But
exactly.
But no, yes, I think there is this like, I need to get a 4.0. But it's like, but is it really worth it? I mean, granted, we support academics, but it is balance. You know, trying to, and if you have to slow down the program, who is telling you that you have to finish in 2 years?
Oh, that too. My goodness gracious. That too. Or when I graduate, I have to get a job right away and I have to get all my hours done because I need to start. And it's just, it all just kind of goes in a circle of, okay, you need, but what are you actually doing for yourself?
Yeah.
And are you keeping yourself safe? And are you keeping your clients safe?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Sometimes you have to move that have to I'd like to.
Yeah.
Because we would all like to do certain things. But when we set those artificial limits on ourselves, then you start chasing a whole different monster.
Definitely.
Now I'm behind the ball. Now I'm not doing this. But especially, last week speaking with Jeff and George on the fact that, Jeff took a break.
Yeah,
because I was getting married. I think he was buying a house. He was doing different things.
Right.
And so that's the thing. Everyone's life's different.
Right.
Yes.
I'll go back to a Lisa Wilson quote. Everyone's path is different.
Yeah.
It's our own journey, and we're not comparing anyone else. And honestly, as much as I complain about how long it's taken, it literally goes by so quickly.
Yeah.
Being a trainee, being an associate, and then your license, and you're there, but it's how did you get there?
Yeah. This is the last one because you just mentioned it, comparing yourself to others.
Mm-hmm.
Boom.
Stop doing that. You can't do that because at the end of the day, everybody's, like we've said, everybody's path is different. And no matter what, you're all going to go down a different path. And actually, when you listen to that path that's yours, you get so much more.
Yep.
So much more.
And especially from a clinical sense.
Yes.
You cannot be what someone else says.
Yeah.
I think I love metaphors. So when I was just sort of going through the program, and even now, I consider myself like a psychology student buffet, where I'm just like, I'm going to take a little bit of that, a little sip here, a little bit of this, ooh, Bohemian.
Yeah.
And so, again, you have to, here's another quote, in life, writing your life story, make sure you're the only one holding the pen. It's the same way from a clinical and a therapist point of view is, your style is going to be your style.
Yes.
When people ask me, how do I do therapy? It's really easy. I'm me.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's what's going to get you through. Because if you're continually trying to be someone else, sure, I may model in different ways, but I am 100% Adam.
Yes.
Right. And your clients are going to connect with you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And some won't, and that's why we have great referrals,
Yes.
great networks, and you wish that person the best.
Yes.
I actually have a person that didn't continue with me, but continues to refer people to me.
Oh, nice.
And it was crazy how that worked out. And it was just a person said, you know what, you didn't try to sell me anything, and you connected me to who I needed to be with. And so I just kickstart people off of you.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And then making connections with other, I would say the majority of my private practice, I would say almost all of them, have only been referrals from friends.
Yep.
Friends or people that I've come in contact with.
Yeah.
And so I think that you saying that being community with other MFTs is imperative.
Yeah, it's very, very important. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, guys.
No, and so thank you guys for tuning in. Those who are driving into work, those who are watching us live, we appreciate that. Thank you. Please keep up with the comments. We appreciate those. And thank you so much for spending time with us, Amanda.
Thank you so much. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.